Sawadika. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tina Supatthakit Jetthawikit, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Sustainability Spark by PTT Group 2026, a landmark sustainability symposium under the theme Sparking the Future, hosted by PTT Group, Thailand's fully integrated energy company with leading position in exploration and production, transmission, petrochemical refining, marketing, and trading of petroleum and petrochemical products in both domestic and overseas. This morning, we officially opened the seminar and had the honor of hearing the keynote address, Thailand, New Horizon, Strength and Sustainability Amidst Global Uncertainty and Climate Challenges, delivered by His Excellency Dr. Ek Nitithan Prapat, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Followed by UK case study on turning net zero into economic growth, along with strategic insight from global experts on Asia direction after COP30. And this afternoon on the Spark Sync stage, Coalition to shape the future economy. We're gonna move beyond vision toward the strategic collaboration, working together to drive the future economy in a tangible and meaningful way. Across this stage, we're gonna explore 3 panel sessions, each addressing a key dimension of the transition to a low-carbon economy. First, the blueprint, which focus on strategies and models to drive decarbonization while strengthening economic competitiveness. Next, the balance, examining how the energy transition can advance toward cleaner solutions while ensuring long-term energy security. And last but not least, the boosters. We're gonna highlighting the system, incentive, and policy that gonna enable environmental action and carbon reduction to scale effectively at the national level. This session will be conducted in English. For those who require the Thai translation, headsets are available at the front of the meeting room for your convenience. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our first session, we're gonna explore how decarbonization can move toward while maintaining and even strengthening economic competitiveness in a discussion on topic the blueprint strategy to drive decarbonization economically. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm round of applause to welcome our speakers. Dr. Pirun Sayasit Panit, Director General of the Department of Climate Change and Environment. Mr. Abe Ichiro, President of JETRO BKK, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan. Ms. Divai Mesitarini, Group Leader, CCS, CCUS, ASEAN Council on Petroleum or ASCO, Representative and PT Pertamina. And last but not least, Mr. Marco Lakovic, Managing Director and Partner of Boston Consulting Group or BCG. Sawadika, good afternoon to our distinguished guests. Please take a seat. I have to say that it's my pleasure to have you all on the stage with me today. So to start with the topic of the blueprint, I would love to start with the DCCE. Dr. Pirun, with Thailand's commitment to carbon neutrality and net zero, how the Department of Climate Change and Environment is shaping the policies such as we have heard about the Climate Change Act or carbon pricing mechanism, right? I would love you to ensure this transition act as a catalyst for economic growth rather than a cost. What is the update on this?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I would like to prefer to speak Thai, but because you told me to speak in English for the 99% of the audience who are Thai, I'm trying to communicate the best for, for the information to be useful to the audience. But let's think about this, in the new economy, new global economy, I think we need to shift our perspective from cost to economic opportunity and see the climate policy, especially the net zero, as the competitive strategy instead of just the climate goal, you know. So I would like to refer to the findings by World Bank under Thailand Country Climate and Development Report. Thailand has to balance our high income ambition with the urgent need for climate resilience. So without stronger and fast adaptation, climate impacts such as droughts, floods, we saw in Hat Yai, and heat waves could reduce our GDP by 7% to 14% by 2050. But with low carbon transition, through climate smart infrastructure investment, green energy or green exports, we could actually boost our economy by raising our GDP 4% to 5% by 2050. So I would say that Thailand positioned our climate policy and the Climate Change Act as a new growth engine, a fundamental rule book for strategic growth transformation. Having said that, you know, the Climate Change Act is, you know, establishing a clear, predictable, and long-term policy framework, not just for mitigation, but for adaptation and climate finance as well, to give confidence to investors, businesses, and financial institutions. So so when we look at the key policy instruments such as the carbon pricing mechanism, including carbon tax and emission trading system, they are being designed to consider economic competitiveness in mind. So if we want to use the carbon tax and the emission trading system to set the limit of the emission from the industry, we have to consider what benefits will Thailand gain from applying this mandatory rules, you know. So we want to make a smooth transition, so we need to structure CPI and gradually and predictably internalize the cost of carbon and allowing a sufficient transition time for private sector and of course encouraging innovation, you know. So we have to keep in mind that the global market is increasingly shaped by the international carbon border policies like EU CBAM that comes into effect in 2026, UK CBAM coming in 2027, and other jurisdictions are exploring the utilization of the same CBAM policies, including Canada, Australia, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and perhaps China as well. The reason that I said that because when I look at the ETS infrastructure in these countries, they are pretty much ready. They're just waiting for the government to kickstart. And whenever the CBAM is officially applied, CBAM has to come. Why? Because you have to prevent the carbon leakage. And of course, you have to ensure the level playing field. So by aligning, you know, if we can align our carbon pricing and the emission reporting with the international standard, we can actually help exporters to reduce CBAM exposure, maintain market access, and also remain competitive instead of, you know, facing penalties for high emissions.
Agree.
And apart from, you know, reducing the CBAM exposure, or in other words, I would say creating future-proofing exports, with a clear climate policy and legal framework, we can also help Thailand to attract more FDI, you know, in energy efficiency, energy, renewable energy, and, you know, EV manufacturing and other as well, you know, and that can accelerate the a transition to green economy. So in conclusion, I would say we need to shift our focus, you know, from cost, you know, economic burden to economic opportunity, increasing competitiveness, and we believe that Thailand climate policy and the Climate Change Act is the driver for new industries, jobs, and export opportunities. And because, you know, well, every country, including Thailand, we want to see sustainable economic growth in the future. But what we have to do is to build a resilient economy that is ready to compete in the 21st centuries with the, you know, quickly changing trade rules and investment in the global market. And that would be the answer for the first question.
Wow, that's interesting. Just like Dr. Pirun said, that we have to shift our mindset from looking all the things that we need to do for the green economy as a burden to be seen as like a good opportunity for our country. So in order to learn from other countries, today we have our partners, a lot of partners come here to share with us, including Mr. Ishiro. I would love to ask you, as Japan has been a global leader in decarbonization strategy, and from your experience, how Japan successfully integrated green innovation into its core national strategy, and what lesson that Thailand or other country could learn from you?
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this very important event. Yes, I would like to speak a little bit about the Japanese government strategies. And the key point in the government Japan's approach is not pursuing a sudden, uniform regulatory push, but advancing a realistic transition that ensures investment predictability so that industry can plan and move in orderly way. The comprehensive framework for this approach is Green Transformation GX 2040 vision formulated last year. The GX 2040 vision does not aim at decarbonization alone. Its basic policy is the simultaneous realization of energy security, economic growth, and decarbonization. One pillar to achieve this goal is the phased manner of implementation of carbon pricing. In Japan, we will introduce carbon pricing system under a step-by-step approach, combining an emission trading systems, ETS, with fuel-related charges. From 2026, we will shift to a mandatory ETS, requiring entities above a certain scale of emissions to measure, manage, and report their emissions. From 2028, we will introduce a GX surcharge on fossil fuels. And from 2033 onward, we will gradually move to paid allocation, auctions of allowance in the power sector. So what matter here is not only what we introduce, but how we introduce. We will pair these measures with steps to prevent sharp price fluctuations so that the companies can form long-term cost expectations and proceed with planned manner of capital investment and technological shifts. This approach is especially important for heavy industries such as steel, chemicals, pulp, paper, and cement. While immediate decarbonization is technologically and economically difficult, these sectors remain indispensable for supporting digitalization infrastructure, disaster resilience, and the energy transition. Japan will maintain domestic production capacity while supporting a long-term realistic transition aligned with technology maturity. In order to do this, we are advancing the enabling conditions in parallel. On the energy side, we will accelerate renewables, the use of nuclear power with safety as the top priority, and the introduction of low-carbon energies such as hydrogen and ammonia. On the investment side, we will mobilize GX Economy Transition Bonds, the world's first sovereign transition bonds, and other financial tools to back investments and social implementations in areas that are difficult for the private sectors alone to monetize, such as electrification of high-temperature processes, CO2 capture and utilization, CCUS. In addition, to ensure low-carbon products and services are appropriate value, we will foster market formation through public and private procurement also. In Thailand, a mandatory ETS is also envisioned, and decarbonization of industries is progressing on timeline very close to Japan's one. Japan's approach combines creating a regulatory framework with providing supporting measures, the publication of a government vision, GX 2040 vision, financing via GX economy transition bonds, and sector-specific investment strategies, including for heavy industries, making a realistic transition feasible. As a government-affiliated organization, JETRO, Bangkok, will work with ASEAN partners under the framework of Asia Zero Emission Communities, AZEC, helping create Japan, Thailand, and other collaboration projects that advance technology development and social implementation in renewables, next generation fuels, CCS, and energy efficiency, enabling Asian countries that rely heavily on fossil fuels to maintain economic growth while moving toward decarbonization in stages. So to summarize, Japan will combine the phased manner of carbon pricing, GX economy transition bonds to support innovation and investment, and the fine-grained sector-specific promotion measures. So with this package, we will maintain the competitiveness of heavy industries while advancing a practical industrial transitions. And through institutional coordination and supply chain cooperation with Thailand, we aim to contribute to the sustained growth of both countries.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your good example that you have been done with the Japan, and we think that we can learn a lot from your implementation. Talking about the ASEAN, today we have a very good partner from ASCOP as well. I would love to ask Ms. Devi, from an ASEAN perspective, how do you see the regional energy landscape evolving in the past? Specifically, how can we turn all the challenge that we have talked a lot about high emission in the energy sector into a regional economic opportunity through shared infrastructure and technology that we have right now?
Thank you. So first thing, really appreciate for having me to be invited here, and I congrats to PTT that already arranging this big event. The Sparking for the Future is preparing for the future business to be more green and more can be accepted to the market. So today I'm Dewi Mercy representing Pertamina and also the ASCOP member. We'll walk through the portfolio of the CCS that we've been developed. At the same time that we are currently keep going with our current existing business. So in our Pertamina strategy is anchored in a dual growth. We are maintaining, sorry. Okay, sorry. So we are maintaining national energy security and business competitiveness by maximizing our legacy in the upstream, downstream, and also transforming the fuel and also retail. And we increase the portion of renewable in our energy mix by building low carbon business. We are increased the capacity in the solar PV, geothermal. We have launched the sustainable aviation fuel and already used by our airline, Pelita. And then we also join program with Toyota to produce a green hydrogen by maximizing the potential in our geothermal and the hydrogen will be used for the Toyota fuel cell car. And we also produce the biodiesel that currently available in the market. And at the same time, we performing the climate policy objective in developing CCS CCUS. And the initiative is to carbonize the major volume of CO2 being released from our facility and also to support other industry sectors. Actually, like many other East Asian economies, we face three pressure: geopolitical volatility, energy mix transition, and accelerating climate policy, including the net zero commitment. And as you can see in here, we are performing to develop the multi integration between the Pertamina and also other entity in the group and also other cross industry sector to be able to decarbonize in a major volume and also we are developing the Asian framework to decarbonize that we expect by having multi emitters and cross border, it will be able to reduce the cost rather than develop it country by country. And you can see that we have a shared CCS hub and transport corridors by developing the regional hub that will integrate and aggregate the CO2 coming from domestic and also from any outside of the countries. And then the one that we need is to harmonize the cross-border CCS framework and also the technology and investment sharing between the country and any others to be able to develop the project to accelerate this decarbonization initiative. And in here, you can see the major development of CCS in Pertamina. So we assign 3 areas to be hub because we see that we have an appropriate potential storage for the CO2 to be injected in the subsurface, and it also having currently the availability for the shipping transport and also the co-sharing facility for the surface facility. So by doing this, we expect that by maximizing the facility we have, it might be able to optimize the cost compared to the one that we calculate to completely develop all the system from the beginning into the complete one. So this is my aim. And the other one, we have also several fields that to be assigned as an integrated CCS domestic cluster beside decarbonized CCS CO2 injection from Pertamina. It also will support the other industry sector within the area. And I think for the quick answer for you, currently Pertamina is not just focusing on the decarbonize for the CO2 from the Pertamina itself, but also to integrate with other industry sector and also to support the other regional countries in East Asia. And we currently already having the regulation that distinguishing between the CCS and CCUS, and we expect that by having this, the next implementation will be going in a better way. Thank you.
Wow, that's very inspiring for us. Thank you for sharing. Okay. All in all, we have to say that we have seen the opportunity in this to go to the greener economy. But I have to ask this for BCG, Mr. Macro, as a global strategic advisor, why is it critical for all businesses to move beyond the compliance and see decarbonization as a driver for long-term competitiveness and business resilience at this time?
No, thanks a lot for the question, and thanks a lot for PTT for selecting this important topic and inviting us to be the panelists here. And I feel that all the panelists actually agree that the green economy is here to stay. And basically, if you check the trends, even the trends confirm that the green economy is one of the fastest growing industries. I mean, next to digital, which is great, and about $5 trillion has been invested so far, and we expect that $7 trillion will be invested still till 2030 on the global level. So definitely, this is something what is here to stay. Of course, and we mentioned this already, that the mitigation is basically the main driver here, but adaptation is actually catching ground and becoming more and more important. However, if we try to de-average a little bit what is happening behind these curves of the investments and the growth, you will actually see a pretty complex canvas of different technologies. More than half of them are currently in the money, as we like to say. So basically, they are economically viable, while the rest are actually catching ground. And the development of the technology and the dropping costs are definitely one of the drivers. However, the other drivers which are actually important are the markets. We basically talked a lot about the Thai market and how the Thai market will evolve, and the Japanese market and how it will evolve. And basically, this actually brought the companies to the situation that the green revenues are becoming the generator of growth, which is important and are growing actually twice as fast as the other revenues. However, the part which is often kind of overlooked is that apart from the equipment which is being used, apart from the solutions, there is the whole ecosystem of the things which are all the way in the upstream, like the critical minerals, like the green steel, so basically green manufacturing, which are also important driver for the creation of the value in the economies itself. And we also saw that it's an important macroeconomic and geopolitical driver as well. But what is needed in order for the decarbonization actually to survive? Basically, three things that we see. The first thing is the price premium. People need to be ready to pay more at this point of time for the green and for the green premium. Of course, you can always say, I will manufacture cheaper, I will do it cheaper, this is all great. But basically, the green premium needs to be here as well, and we need to recognize that. So this is the first driver, and this is something which is quite important. The second one, which is quite important, is the cost of financing. So what we see is that companies which have a significant share of the green economy embedded in the core operations are basically getting a cheaper investment. And this can be driven by a couple of reasons. So the first one is basically the growth is quicker, the valuations are higher, but also the lenders are willing to invest more and cheaper in the green economies or the green solutions itself. And basically, this is a huge motivator, and sometimes in the capex intense industries, so Budevi actually spoke about CCS, this is critical because you need a lot of investments for something like that. And the last one, which is actually becoming more and more important, are the risk premiums. So we are seeing actually the global economy, which is becoming very sensitive to the flow of materials, to the flow of services. And basically what the countries are doing is they're looking at the energy independence. And we mentioned that at the very beginning. And the whole green infrastructure is something which is quite important for the energy independence as well, because it's a decentralized, it's a distributed system, but it's a system which can be confined within a country, especially if you have manufacturing of that equipment as well. And this is something what has been a Chinese idea for the decades now, but what the countries in Southeast Asia are also starting to employ and basically expand into the upstream and create additional value through the manufacturing of the equipment itself. So in a way, what we actually see for the green economy to survive and to thrive is basically the ecosystem. All of these elements need to be in place. So there is no magic solution, but what we also see is a huge momentum. So a lot of money is being invested. A lot of companies are basically growing. There is profit margin which is healthy. A lot of lenders are very open to continue to invest, and we are quite positive about the whole trend.
Wow. That's interesting. Thank you for confirming us that go greener is also economically viable as well. So if we talk about the action path, we have to come back to Dr. Pirun once again, because we have to see how that Thailand can achieve the decarbonization economically. I have to say like this in terms of the concrete action. How does the government can enhance the collaboration with the private sectors through carbon price mechanism that you just mentioned, or financial incentive to accelerate the transition to the low carbon economy?
Well, following the first question, when I said that we have to shift our perspective to see climate policy, especially net zero 2050, as the economic opportunity, but it's still a challenge. It's a challenge for not only for Thailand but for any other nations as well. So, but when we look within the region, the ASEAN region, Thailand is not the first country to announce net zero in 2050. Actually, we are the seventh, following Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Laos, even Cambodia, But of course, when introducing new instruments like carbon pricing, we need to make sure that our private sector are ready. That's why we emphasize the importance of private sector engagement at the beginning of the drafting process of the Climate Change Act. So we include the representatives from the private sector as the member of the Subnational Committee on Climate Legislation and also the National Committee on Climate Change Policy, which is chaired by the Prime Minister himself. And basically, I would say that private sector is working hand in hand with the government throughout the drafting process of the Climate Change Act, including also the design of the carbon pricing instruments. But beyond that, my department has set up a task force, including representatives from the private sector, to work on the detailed design of the subsidiary laws and regulations of the CPIs. This is to make sure that whenever we implement the CPI, it is workable, and we would be able to phasing them in responsibly, because we have to consider as well the economic impact, when we start using the carbon pricing instruments like carbon tax and emission trading system. But of course, how we attenuate such an impact, because sooner or later, voluntary is not going to lead us to achieving the net zero target, and we may not be able to compete with the changing rules of global trade and investment. So we will make sure that whenever we apply the carbon tax and emission trading system, they will be paired with financial incentives, like on the screen, the climate fund, concessional finance, sustainability linked bond or green bonds by commercial banks or even by the Ministry of Finance itself, and the tax incentives from BOI for sure, voluntary carbon credits, and of course the Thailand CBAM. Because whenever we apply carbon price to our products, or even to control the entities to set the limit of greenhouse gas emission. We need to be able to make sure that we protect our industries, by applying the Thailand CBAM as well. So with the, I would say, customized and optimized financial incentives or financial supporting measures together with the CPI, we can stimulate a quicker transition in innovation and climate-related investment like renewable energy, energy efficiency, EV manufacturing, low-carbon industries, and of course, very much important to say is the climate-resilient infrastructures. So I want to ensure all of you here today, and most of you are from private sectors, that the government will work closely with you, in designing the CPI and how to utilize it effectively, considering the competitiveness and economic burden. And as I said before, I think with the CPI, we can reduce the, CBAM exposure. It's already being enforced, and who knows, more products in the pipeline, and whenever it comes into effect, for example, like glass, ceramic, petrochemicals, refinery products, and so on and so forth. So if we can reduce the CBAM exposure, we can increase the competitiveness in exporting to the global market. And at the same time, how to attract more foreign direct investment, because we have to admit that there are so many big companies, seeking for climate stable and aligned supply chain. And Thailand could be the leading country for that, because you see the changing rule, people are seeing for more sustainable business, and I would like to position Thailand in this pathway, and that is the rules for the competition in trading and investment, as I said, in the 21st century.
Wow, can't wait to see that great picture happen between the collaboration from the Thai government and also the Thai private sectors. Moving on to the collaboration between nations, I would love to ask Mr. Ichiro, looking at your green transformation or GX strategy that you just mentioned before, what practical step that should Thai and Japanese businesses take together to build the sustainable supply chains that meet global decarbonization standards?
Yes, thank you. So in that context, I would like to talk about a little bit about promotion of business partnership between Thailand and Japan. And firstly, I'd like to talk about the startups policy in Japan, and then what JETRO is doing to promote a business partnership. So first, Japan is focusing on promoting startups from the perspective of fostering innovation. In 2022, the Japanese government formulated a 5-year startup plan aiming to increase the number of Japan-born unicorns through intensive support for financing or accelerations. The key concepts include deep tech, which seeks to develop and implement next-generation technologies, and go global, which targets global market from the outset to scale up. In fields such as decarbonization and resource circulations, startups are emerging that combine digital technologies to provide services for visualizing and reducing carbon emissions, as well as developing innovative technologies. Thailand is, of course, one of the important countries where both the public and private sectors are actively engaged in climate change initiatives. By leveraging the technology of Japanese startups to drive Thailand's green transformation, we see significant potential for new cooperation between Thai and Japan, win-win relationship. So as the slide shows, JETRO is advancing 3 major initiatives: business matching through participation in exhibition and organizing business meetings. This is number 1. Number 2 is building partnership that involve both public and private sectors in Thailand and Japan. And thirdly, providing information on promising companies in both countries through catalogs and other means. So JETRO has so far set up booths at major exhibitions such as Texas and others, supporting Japanese companies and other companies, including startups, in exhibiting at JETRO's booths, while also facilitating matching with Thai companies. Through these efforts, we have expanded the business networks between Thailand and Japan companies. In addition, through hosting various seminars and symposiums, including sustainable seminars, we are providing information to private sectors and promote a collaboration between both between Japan and Thai and between the government and the private sectors. And furthermore, we create catalogs introducing Japanese companies with cutting-edge technologies, not limited to startups, and widely disseminate those in Thailand. At the same time, through interviews with major Thai companies, we share their areas of interest and expectations for Japanese companies broadly within Japan. Through these initiatives, various examples of collaboration between Thai and Japanese companies have emerged. Japan's Zero Board has partnered with Thailand's Rojana to provide carbon emission visualization services for the manufacturing sector. Thailand's T-Smart has teamed up with Japan's Taisei Corporation to promote energy efficiency and smart building solutions. Japan's TBM has collaborated with Thailand's BJC to popularize the recycled shopping basket. Japan's Samalytica has partnered with Thailand's CP to strongly advance energy-saving measures in poultry facilities. And this way, cutting-edge technologies from Japanese startups are driving decarbonization and resource circulation across a wide range of sectors in Thailand, of course, in Japan. Together with this comprehensive initiative of the Asia Zero Emission Communities introduced in Round 1, we would like to build a new cooperative relationship between Thailand and Japan by promoting collaboration centered on green technologies for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the support that JETRO has been done with all the Thai business, since from the startup and also like medium to large business that you have been collaborating. Moving on to the real use case from Patamina, Ms. DY, I would love to ask you, based on your work experience with Patamina and as a S-Corp, could you please share with us the practical blueprints as same as the title of our session today. We would love to know what is the blueprints that making CCUS commercially viable that you just mentioned, and especially it must be scalable within the Southeast Asia region as well, right? How can you do that?
Okay, thank you for the question. So basically, as you see on the slide, we are doing a very detailed evaluation on the storage that being appointed as the CO2 injection reservoir candidate. We're doing the comprehensive and thorough to find the most appropriate reservoir that having the minimum depth, the good permeability, having a seal and caprock integrity, having a multiple seal availability, the maximum pressure that fit into the requirement, number of legacy well that potentially making the a breakthrough impact and risk, and also the plum movement evaluation and many other detail evaluation. Basically, all those evaluation is the aim is to de-risking of the project implementation of the CCUS, because in here we aim to start the CO2 permanently, and we expect that won't be any leakage. So the CO2 that being stored can be recognized as the carbon credit later on. So that carbon credit is the one that will be agreed to be shared, that required a G2G bilateral agreement for sure. So in cross-border concern highlight in regional studies, the permanence and leakage accounting cross-border is become one of the issues. And then MRV, responsibility split between the capture country, the storage country, and then the long-term liability transfer from one area to the other area that crossing to the border, and also aligning into the international standard. So basically, we are taking the best effort to fit into the international standard to be able to minimum any potential risk, and we can mitigate by designing what would be the next operation design when we really implemented this CCS project. And for the next, if you can see in the design of the CCS pathway for the Asian, we see that CCS is evolving into a regional low carbon business with the multi-emitters model for domestic cross-industry sectors integration and CO2 cross-border, and Pertamina will serve as storage and transport hub leader. And our key actually, Asian should establish the common cross-border CCS framework for MRV, and then emission reduction recognition and liability allocation. The government should also enable cross-border CO2 transport and storage, because in East Asia, every single country having its own policy and regulation. It doesn't have to be same regulation and policy. It doesn't have to be a uniformity, but it has to be mentioned what will be the rule into this cross-border, the transport and storage, and also the requirement that has to be fulfilled, including the import regulation, because it will be crossing the border. And then CCS should be embedded in the ASEAN decarbonization and financing framework as a cost-effective regional solution. CCS allow ASEAN to turn high aviation into a shared economic and decarbonization opportunity. So in the cross-border perspective, regional hub and of the CO2, CCS CO2 cross-border has to address bilateral agreement from one country to the other country. And in that case, it has to cover the right to emission reduction, the regulatory jurisdiction of during the transport, and then long-term storage stewardship, carbon accounting and emission reduction ownership, and then fiscal incentive and carbon market linkage. So CCS and CCS is strategic regional infrastructure for East Asia decarbonization. The technology is largely ready, but the remaining is still challenged, specifically in the policy alignment, the commercial risk allocation across the borders. So for Pertamina side, and also that will give a big support to the East Asian countries, and we expect that CCS will strengthen the energy security today, while positioning Asian to be a trusted long-term CO2 partner for the next decarbonization program globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good beginning idea and execution plan that you share with us. Last but not least, as our session is the blueprint for all companies that would love to drafting for to go for greener economy, I would love to ask Mr. Macro for final questions. How do you recommend all the company to balance and balance the trade-off between like the immediate capital expenditure that they have to invest right now and the long-term economic gain of sustainability that you just mentioned before that is a must that you all of us need to catch this opportunity.
I think this is one of the first questions that we have ever received when we started talking about the green economy, and this is how do you actually balance the investment today versus building the position and economic impact for the future as well. So let me start one step back, and this is the investments which are needed, and these investments are huge. And basically, these are not the investments which are just on the paper. These are the investments which are needed to reach the net zero, which we are talking about here as well. So the question is how to make this viable for the companies actually, or how to attract the companies to participate and fill in this gap, because we are talking about 37 trillion US dollars by 2030, and there is about 9 or 10 trillion US dollars of a gap which needs to be filled in by the private sector. So there are kind of three different mutually complementary steps which need to be taken by or which we see that the companies are taking, which are successful in monetizing the green investments. So the first one is definitely the sequencing of the investments themselves, starting from the technologies which are currently in the money. And if you remember the first slide which I have shown, a lot of technologies are in the money at this point of time. This will be more than half of the different levers which we need to pull in order to abate or in order to decarbonize the situation compared to the baseline. Energy efficiency, electrification are some of the examples. The second important element is for all the technologies which are borderline in the money or not in the money, and CCS is the one which is probably prime example here. We actually need to partner. So this is something where a single company will have difficulty to fully monetize this type of technology and have a positive business case. And the third one is actually how do we shift these investments from a single sourced capex to the shared capex as we call it. And there are multiple strategies actually in order to do this. So one of them is basically to collaborate together with the government, which needs to ensure the policy stability. We heard quite a bit about it. With the other companies, cross-border collaboration, use of the blended financing from different sources like MDBs, like sovereign funds, private capital. So basically all of these levers should be pulled. So basically in a way, the main question is how do we de-risk and how do we send a signal to the companies that these investments will actually pay off. And we singled out a couple of examples how this currently looks like in Southeast Asia, and Budevi actually spoke about some of these quite a bit. So the first one is related to the public-private partnerships and the shared infrastructure, like for example green hydrogen infrastructure like the CCS, where the role of the government is basically to ensure the environment through the carbon tax, through the tax incentives, import of the equipment, for example, which will help the private sector or the state-owned enterprises to invest. The second element or the second example could be, for example, the S-Hub in Singapore, which is also collaboration of different oil and gas players, which are basically trying to mobilize the broader Southeast Asian environment when it comes to the CCS as well. And we actually see this as a positive nudge, as a positive push. The second important element are the G2G frameworks. We actually heard quite a bit about the CO2 and the cross-border collaboration when it comes to the CO2, and I will not repeat all of that. And NGI is one of the attempts actually to standardize the approach to the CO2 to basically define how does the stakeholder landscape look like, how do we unify different regulations here, accountability when it comes to the leakages, different accreditation and different matching to the international standards. So in a way, these investments are not a question for a single companies themselves, but for the whole ecosystem and again for the whole collaboration. And here ASEAN itself and the collaboration between the ASEAN countries will have a huge impact, and that's why we are very positive and basically very excited about Thailand's role as well in taking huge steps here to be part of this collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you for the clear picture that emphasizes us. We need to collaborate much more on this for going greener and also like to prepare for the opportunity that you just mentioned that it's huge, right, from now on. So if we would not love to like miss this trend of the opportunity, we have to help each other, especially in the ASEAN market. We have a big opportunity for this. And thank you very much for very insightful information from all of the distinguished speakers. Please give a big round of applause to our speakers. ขอบคุณมากๆค่ะ And next, please remain on the stage to take the group photo first in the front. Before we go into the next session, I have to thank you once again for all the distinguished speakers to share with us all the insightful information about the blueprint, to let us know how to set up the way and implementation plan to go greener together. We're gonna have one more video shot on this. Please keep smiling. Thank you very much. ขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆอีกครั้งให้กับ speakers ของเรานะคะ Thank you very much for all insightful information. And for the first session, I have to say that all Thailand, Japan, and Pertamina are strategically aligning their industrial and regulatory framework to accelerate the transition toward the net zero and energy security through mechanisms like carbon pricing, GX 2040, CCS initiative that Mr. Devai just mentioned to us. I have to say that these players are transforming decarbonization into a multi-trillion-dollar growth opportunity, like Mr. Macro just mentioned to us. So we have to say that success in this green economy depends on bold ambition, cross-border collaboration, and navigating the evolving landscape of technology and finance together. So this is the conclusion of the blueprint session that I believe that is very benefit to all of us that would love to create our own blueprint to go to greener economy. And our next session is equally compelling as we turn our focus to the outstanding topic, the balance, future of energy cleaner but yet secure. In this discussion, we're going to take you to explore key perspective and strategy for driving a balanced energy transition that advance cleaner energy solutions while ensuring long-term energy security for the country. Let's begin with the representative from governmental agency, state enterprise, and private sector in energy businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, please give me a big round of applause to our distinguished speakers. First, คุณวัฒนพงศ์คุโรวาท Secretary General of the Energy Policy and Planning Office or EPO, Ministry of Energy. Next, คุณรัฐกรกัมปนาทแสนยากร Senior Executive Vice President Corporate Sustainability of PTT Public Company Limited. And next, คุณสิริวัฒน์เจ็ดศรี Deputy Governor Power Plant Development and Renewable Energy of Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand And last but not least, Mr. Joshua Ngu, Research Vice Chairman, Asia Pacific of Wood Mackenzie. สวัสดีค่ะ and good afternoon to all of you. It's my honor to have you all on the stage. To start with how to balance clean energy with the security first, I would love to ask Apple first on this. What is the Apple approach to balancing this one, to both clean energy ambition with the energy security in Thailand transition its energy system?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to share about the balance and clean energy with the security. Actually, I will, in the term of the policy maker, before I answer these questions, balance, let me step back. There are four forces or driving factors that are shaping the energy now. The first one, we know that right now we have a very extreme weather. We call the climate shock. The climate shock come into the form of like the flooding, heat wave, and maybe some kind of the critical crisis to environment. So it can harmful to the electricity generation to the people. The second one is the price. Price now is volatility. It doesn't mean that the high price, but it means that the price is volatile. That means they have some directly impact to the energy bills and to the business and to the Thai people. Another one is the geopolitical risk and the supply chain. You can see now many of the clean technology now, we rely on the supply chains like the EV, like the battery. The critical material is very important. When there are some conflict for the geopolitical risk, there affect to our electricity bill, for example. And another one we have to concern is about the demand. Right now there's a new demand with the more demand with the different pattern from the EVs and from the data center. That is for a factor that work together, then in terms of the policy maker, we have cool concern about that. So it's come to the questions or the answer, the idea of the balance. We cannot balance, we can get the clean energy, but we cannot balance with the security. So the answer is we have to design the energy system. For example, like in the power sector, we now drafting the new power development plan. We have to design when we add more renewable energy capacity, we need to design the system to absorb and not have too much cost for the people. So the important thing is about security, it's about the affordability, and it's about the resilience for the energy system. This one is the framework that in terms of the energy planning. You maybe know that the energy trilemma, but when we embed it with the environment, we can see that we have to managing the trade-off. For sure that for the security, you try to reduce the carbon, but the carbon, for sure, the renewable energies, the technology can achieve, but the cost, you cannot add more cost to the Thai people. You cannot add more cost to the business or the industry, because then the country cannot have the more competitiveness. The other one is the renewable. Yes, we can add more capacity, but variability is intermittent source. And for sure, we have to design the power system that the renewable, which is the intermittent source, can stable, can reliable, and can make a very successful goal for the country. And the last one is the infrastructure. And also we have to build the infrastructure for the security. We cannot depend what kind of renewable. The answer is we cannot say that one technology can fit all. We have to diversify, we have to make a resilient so we can take and design the energy system that suitable for Thailand.
Wow,
That
it
is the
seems
kind of
like it's very difficult work นะคะ to manage all the trade-off together, but I believe that you can do so, and I'm gonna talk. We're gonna be back on this one, how to manage this trade-off effectively. Moving on to the Thai corporate like PTT นะคะ As I mentioned before, that we have to see the real case that moving to this efficiency, and PTT Group is one of the good example. I have to ask you that what are the key operational and investment challenges in shifting toward the low carbon business model while still maintaining the country energy needs met?
Okay, the challenge.
Yeah, the key operational and investment challenges.
I think
Yeah.
it have to be maybe the latest slide.
Okay, sure.
Sorry. I think if you're talking about challenge, you have to look at the Thailand NDC 3.0 first. As you know that Thailand already commit to reduce the CO2 approximately 109 million ton of CO2 by 2035. That's we commit in the COP30. And looking at this, to achieve that target, the country really need to have a substantial investment in various technology in order to decarbonize toward the target in 2035. So if you look carefully on the left side here, we call no regret initiative. They have a minus abatement cost. So this initiative, actually, if we invest, we can reduce the cost, gain more profit, and reduce the CO2. Because no regret, you have to do it. And probably you don't need much support from the government, but actually it's not sufficient. It's not really sufficient. You need another 60% of the technology to actually reduce the CO2, which have a higher cost. In this case, I think the challenge would be how can we make this, investment feasible. So that's a challenge for decarbonization. So I think for this, many technologies still have a high cost. And the regulatory have to be support, incentive have to be there in order for the investment to be feasible and economically viable. In PTT, when we consider the investment in decarbonization, we have to look at the several signposts to ensure that the investment will be economic. The two key signposts actually would be the abatement cost of each technology. Various technology have a different cost according to the development stage of each technology. That's one of the key signposts. And another signpost is the carbon price, the future carbon price that's going to be imposed actually by the government. That means if you emit CO2, you have to pay. So basically, if you have a technology that can reduce CO2 lower than the carbon price, that means that technique could be economical. So that's a key indication that we are looking to make sure that the project could be feasible. I like to leave 4 key factors for the country that if we're going to make this decarbonization investment possible, we need to think about 4 factors. I think we talked a lot in this morning session. The first factor would be we need to have the appropriate financial instrument to be in place to make sure that we have the mechanism that can make the project feasible. This have to be work together between the private sector and public sector. It could be the incentive like the grant, carbon price, carbon tax, or mandatory like the ETS, or support international green finance that probably could support the bigger project that probably need a funding. So this is the first one. The second one is the technology. The technology needs to be developed and invest with the partner. We need to find a technique that can reduce the cost extensively in the futures that's going to make the project feasible. And the third one is the policy regulatory have to be in place in Thailand in order for the private sector like PTT to be able to proceed with certain projects. And lastly, we have to have the collective demand, collaboration demand among the stakeholders, the appropriate business model that we can really optimize the cost, that can lower the cost and make the project feasible. Lastly, I'd like to mention that if Thailand have create the attractive investment, environment for the decarbonization project, the large project like CCS could be possible. It's not going to be only the decarbonization project, but it could be the economic driver for Thailand. For example, here we have two big projects. The first one is the Atit project, 1 million tons. And the second one, by the end of 2035, we need to have it, is a 10 million ton of the CCS project in Thailand. So this project not only decarbonize and make Thailand to reach the NDC 3.0, but it creates the job. More than 11,000 jobs could be created. And the economic value could be more than 18 billion baht per year. And this is only in 10 years. But in order for Thailand to reach the net zero, we need 6 times of the carbon capture and storage, 60 million tons. That's going to create the value 6 times. We can imagine this not only the decarbonization, but it's also the economic opportunity for the country. So that's why I strongly believe that for Thailand, future energy is not only cleaner, but it's going to be more secure. And CAS project is one of the very good big move example for the country. And I believe that together with all the stakeholders, we can really turn this climate action into the country economic prosperity. So I hope that we can together build the future together here. Thank you.
Totally agree on that. I think this one is the good example and good framework to show with us. Even there's a lot of challenges happening, but if we see the huge opportunity awaiting for us there, PTT is the one that trying to find a solution to make it happen like this. Thank you very much คุณรัฐกรนะคะ Okay, now I would love to move to คุณศิริวัตร from EGAT นะคะ As the EGAT are the backbone of the Thailand's power system, strengthening them and diversifying the power system to support the clean energy transition while maintaining overall energy security. How can EGAT do that?
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to introduce my organization first. EGAT, or Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand. We are a state enterprise under the Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Finance. So our responsibility is to generate and transmit the electricity to the system. So right now, from the global energy trend, we found that the global trend is focused on the clean energy and new technology to reduce the severity of the global warming. So we try to meet the global trend by follow the national energy plan, which consists of many plans of the country. We try to we try to work with this plan to achieve the net zero meet the net zero emission by 2050. So we consider that there is 3 main parts to achieve this goal. The first one is we try to use more the clean energy by the renewable energy such as the solar, wind, biomass, and also the hydropower. We also classify that the nuclear technology especially SMR in Thailand, is a one option, is a one of the renewable energy that we will use in the future to increase the clean energy portion. So the second one is we try to promote to use the hydrogen with our existing power plant by blending the hydrogen with natural fuel gas. So the third one is we try to apply the grid modernization concept like demand response to optimize our grid capacity. Besides that, we also apply like BESS, battery energy storage system, such as normal battery and also the mechanical battery like pump storage system. That I said, we classify the SMR technology or nuclear technology like clean energy. So in the draft PDP 2024, we have the SMR project consists in the plan. We have like two sides of the SMR. Each side is 300 megawatt. We hope that this kind of the energy will help to help the system to secure and give more the clean energy to the system. Even the SMR has an advantage on the zero emission concept and give the energy security, but we still have some concern on this kind of theory. Like we know that this kind of project we will use a high investment on this project, and we need the advanced technology, and we also need the public acceptance to help this project. So EGAT, we believe that we can make this project happen because we have a long time for preparation for the nuclear technology. So we confident that we can do this kind of project for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so as you just mentioned that EGAT are preparing to go greener by using all the alternative of the clean energy that have right now, and which all of this I think is a good example for both the public sectors and also the private sectors that just like trying to make it balance between like go greener and also like to make all the energy have enough for all of us in Thailand. So moving to the global view, like from Wood Mackenzie, I would love to ask Mr. Joshua, could you please share with us the successful model have seen worldwide that can balance all of this together, both clean energy and also security effectively, and how can Thailand adapt those lessons to unique context of our country?
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks a lot to PTT for your invitation for Wood Mackenzie to be here today. It's a great pleasure to see everyone here really engaged around the topic on climate change, sustainability, and it's something that I think we've done a lot in the past over the last 2 to 3 years, and somehow in certain places and certain parts of the world, it seems to have dimmed a bit, and I think it really is important that at least we in Asia, in ASEAN as well, continues to fight this fight on climate change. I guess when it comes to the topic around clean energy and energy security, the first thing that we have to really recognize and have in our head is the fact that both these goals are heading towards the same direction. They are not competing with one another, right? So ultimately what we're saying here is clean energy really enables energy security in two ways, right? So the first way here is the diversification of your energy source, right? Also, historically, you would have been, at least in Thailand's case, very dependent, the power sector, on the gas sector. And with renewables, you'll find different sources, and of course, increasingly with hydrogen and with other sources as well. That helps with the resilience of the system. But also at the same time, with every domestically produced, I would say, energy, so in the sense of renewable energy, for every megawatt you produce, that just really means less imports, right? Which means you de-link yourself from geopolitical situation internationally, you de-link yourself from price shocks, and you de-link yourself from supply chain risks. And if we really look around the world, there will be a few places you would say can be a role model, right? The first is definitely, you think about Europe, right? Europe, historically very reliant on gas from the power sector, right? Of course, with the Russia-Ukraine war, that changed a lot of the dynamics of supply, and ultimately the Fit for 55 policy came in. They want to be a lot more self-sufficient when it comes to their energy generation as well. And of course, as part of that, a lot of new policies and a lot of drive here really to increase renewable penetration in the system as well. I think when we think about Europe and developed countries, it's really a case study here for many countries. But I would highlight the fact that it is also easier for them because of two things. One, they can afford it most of the time. And two, their energy demand is not increasing like where you see in developing countries and in Southeast Asia and in Thailand in this case. So when we think about that, we think about the other country, right, which is China, and how they've been successfully deploying significant amount of renewables, 400-500 gigawatts on an annual basis to be able to meet the energy demand and make sure that they continue to have a balanced, I would say, a very balanced system as well. And I would highlight that if you look at the charts that we have here, each country, their renewables penetration generally varies, right? And the one key trend that we see, regardless of where you are, is the fact that renewables penetration will continue to increase. And I think that's the fact for every country in Southeast Asia, including Thailand as well. And ultimately, the question here is, where do we get to be cost efficient? The conundrum of energy security, and I will leave it at that because balance is very delicate. The conundrum for energy security, and especially when it comes to power, is not only the fact that you need to diversify your source of supply, but you need to achieve security in a sense that your grid continues to remain reliable and make sure that you don't have outages as well. And this is where you have constraints around renewables penetration, right? Initially, when you increase renewables capacity, and a lot of the presentations this morning you've seen would have shown that solar lower levelized cost of electricity is coming down. It's $30 to $40 per megawatt hour compared to gas at $80 to $90, $100 per megawatt hour as well. And it is true that to a certain point, the more you deploy renewables into the energy system, it reduces the system cost. Until you hit a tipping saturation point where you really need to increase your balancing system, your firming capacity. And that typically, when we look around the market and when we do the analysis, is about 30% of 30 to 35 renewables penetration. And that's where you need to deploy battery. And that's where the system costs increased significantly as well. So I think from our perspective, we really need to find the right balance, and that balance is different from system to system. And I think for us, we're all waiting to see what happens with the PDP and what's going to come out of it. But it really signifies intent here. And so, from our perspective, it really needs to be thought of in a very, very delicate manner. And as easy as it is to say, more renewables equals to more resilience, but it also eventually, at some point, will impact affordability. And that's where the challenge starts in terms of scaling it from 30% to what was initially in the 2024 PDP of 51% as well.
I see. It's interesting. Thank you for the information that you just provide us. I think it's at least it's good news for Thailand that we are in a good position, right? But we have to see like which point is the status that we have to like rebalance once again to recalculate the cost effectively. So we would love to go back to the Apple นะคะ I would love to ask คุณวัฒนพงศ์นะคะ as the policy maker for Apple, what is the current progress and key challenges that you have been like seeing right now to enable all sector to move in the same direction during this clean energy transition, and what are also the key factors to ensure that all this transition plan are on track?
Okay, when we're talking about the progress, I think the progress on the clean energy for Thailand, now we move forward. But now we are in the very difficult part to decide that I already mentioned, clean, but we need security. So actually, if we need more clean, we also need security. But the answer is we have to diversify, we have to design the market or design the energy system that can respond to clean with a reliable system. That is the answer now. So the biggest questions now is in terms of the design the energy system. We have to decide how we can have the energy system with the uncertainty. That four things that I already mentioned: the climate shock, the price volatility, the geopolitical risk, the supply chains, and the demand. That is the questions. So in terms of the future energies, we can see that the answer is we have to design the energy mix as the portfolio. The first one is we have a lot of renewable potential like solar, like wind, and we need to integrate that. And also we need to have the control management system to get together to integrate that all the renewable energies. And also in the time of the transitions, for sure, right now, the natural gas is the important source to transition. But in the future, we need more firm and low carbon power, like the SMR, like CCS technologies, and also the battery. Another one is the infrastructure that I already mentioned. The grid, the market, the grid need to go together. We have to design. That is the flexible, more smarter, and can respond simultaneously. And the last one is the demand. Right now, the demand, we have more demand, but in the future, we need the demand side management. That is the important thing. So from now, for Thailand, the challenge is just transitions. We are now moving on to the target at the net zero, but it's a little bit difficult to answer that questions. So the first one, we need to design the market that answer all the affordable, the inclusive, and competitions. So because we cannot left no one, we cannot choose the best technology, we cannot choose the cheapest technology. As I say, one technology cannot fit one. So we have to diversify, we have to balance. That is the answer that how we can just transition for now. But the important thing is when we design the market or the power system, what is the important thing is we need to make it fair and the public assistance. That is a question, a big question for Thai people. Everyone wants to know what is the new PDP. The new PDP, for sure, you can add more renewable, you can get more security, but if you cannot get the public assistance, we cannot go for the just transitions. So our target cannot achieve. So the challenges for the energy policy or the energy policy maker is that how do we decarbonize the country, but we cannot add the cost to the business, cannot add the cost to the people, and can increase more competitiveness for the country. and everyone can go balance and we can achieve the net zero in the future.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's interesting นะคะ I think it's like a very good framework that you just mentioned before that we are in the transition phase and we need a collaboration from everyone to make it happen. No? So as you just told us that we have to make all the stakeholders understand what we are going to. So I would love to ask for the PTT group as well. As you are one of the national primary energy provider and also as a state-owned enterprise as well. คุณรัฐกรคะ I would love to ask how can PTT balance energy security with the transition to clean energy and also how can PTT can align diverse stakeholder expectation to support this balanced transition as the Apple just mentioned before.
Okay. As a national energy company, PTT, we're committed to drive the business growth, focusing on the energy sector in a sustainable way. When we say sustainable way, we're talking about three important aspects. The first one is the economic sustainability. Anything that we invest, it have to be creating the value. It have to give a reasonable return. This is very important. The second one is the social responsibility. Once we get the value from the economics, we have to share and grow with the society. That's very important. And the third one is about the environment responsibility as well. For PTT, we commit to drive Thailand energy transition toward the green economy. So this is our commitment. Talking about the energy sector, okay. We have a strategy and the business plan aligned with the PDP and also the NDC 3.0 as well as the net zero target in 2050. And of course with the balance of the three factors that Pilek that mentioned that the first one is energy security. That's very important that we have to ensure that Thailand will have the sufficient and reliable supply in line with the country growth. The second one is the environment. So we have to provide a cleaner energy to the Thai. And the last one, very important, the affordability. The energy have to be at the reasonable price and affordable for Thai. So this is a kind of principle. If you look at the Thailand energy forecast toward 2050, of course, the renewable energy will be increasing significantly. It's going to be more cleaner. But as you can see that the fossil fuels still play a very important role, especially the natural gas, we say this morning as a destination fuel. In order for us to get to net zero, that means that we have to decarbonize. And I already mentioned in the first question that the CCS could play a very important role for the country, or the nature-based solution, forestation also could be another solution. For PTT, I think we have a very clear role to play to drive the business growth as well as the economic growth for Thailand. And while we're doing this, we're also decreasing the greenhouse gas and to meet the net zero in 2050 in parallel. To do this, we use the strategy called C-Cube. C-Cube. The first C we call is a climate resilient business, where we are considerately and carefully increase the green portfolio, the low carbon portfolio, like LNG, while we are decreasing or exit the high emission asset like coal. This strategy accounts for 20% of the reduction of the total emission in PD groups. The second C we call the carbon conscious technology, where we leverage the technology, the digital tools, AI, to reduce our emission from the global operation of PDT groups. This accounts for 35% reduction of the total emission of the group. The last C is we call coalition, co-creation, and collective effort for all. That means we're implementing a very large-scale project that need collaboration among multi-stakeholders to make this project happen. This project can substantially reduce the CO2 and help Thailand toward the NDC 3.0 and ultimately net zero in 2050. These projects are CCS that I mentioned. could be hydrogen in the futures, or even the natural-based solution. So these are the key strategy that we have. We have a very clear strategy, we have a very clear plan, but I think the most important is the execution. We need to make it happen, and we thought that today, with all the support from all stakeholders, especially the public sector, we make a good progress on the CCS project. The two projects that we made, the first one we call the CCS project, is 1 million ton carbon capture and storage operating in the Gulf of Thailand, operating by PTTEP, our subsidiary. This one, we already made a final investment decision last year, and we expect to have a commercial operation in 2028. Once operating, this project as a pilot project will give a valuable information for us to develop the larger scale, the Eastern Thailand CCS Hub as a second project. This one have a capacity up to 10 million ton initially. This one is ongoing, and it's going to be a project that capture the CO2 in the eastern seaboard of Thailand EEZ and storage in the northern part of the Gulf of Thailand. We made a significant progress on this one early of the year, actually in 2 weeks. The government already approved for the country to proceed with a seismic survey. This is really beneficial for the country, for us to know what will be the accurate capacity of the storage that we have in the Gulf of Thailand on the northern part. This is going to be a vital information for the private sector to explore the further feasibility of the project. So hopefully this momentum will go on, and we can really proceed the project as planned and in time for the first target NDC 3.0 in 2035. Thank you.
Okay. Can't wait to see the progress moving on the CCS project, on both projects. Moving to the EGAT one. As I mentioned before, that the whole thing need to be like collaborate together. And just Mr. Joshua just mentioned that the important part is the system provider, right? To help our country go greener efficiently. I would love to ask Kun Siriwat, in alignment with all the national energy direction, how do you see the overall progress in transforming the power sector toward the cleaner energy, and what are the key factors required to drive this transition toward the goal effectively for EGAT?
Sorry. Yeah, as I mentioned before, that the SMR or nuclear technology is the best solution right now to comply with the carbon emission goal and system security. So to comply with the PDP plan, I mean in the draft PDP 2024, we try to fix the SMR project schedule to comply with the PDP. So right now, we expect that we can meet the commercial operation date of the SMR in the next 13 years from now. So from that PDP plan, we can make a timeline of the project as shown on the slide, that now we are on the preparation stage. And from now, we have to prepare like a preliminary feasibility study and site selection study to select the potential site. And then after we get this kind of information, we will propose this information to our cabinet to let them to make the decision that we will have a SMR project or not. If they decide to go to, we call go nuclear. If they decide to go nuclear, so EGAT as an owner, EGAT as an operator, we will prepare like a full feasibility study and prepare the EHAA. We have prepared the TOR for the EPC selection to do the project. And we hope that after we get the approval from the cabinet, let's say in 2032, we can start the construction. So, and we hope that we can meet the COD target on 2037. That is our first plan to have the SMR project in Thailand to comply with the balance of the energy, because SMR is a benefit of the make a system security and meet the CO2 emission target. So to do that kind of project, we still have a lot of challenge in our opinion. The first one is because the SMR project, they need like a lot of infrastructure to develop the project. So we think that we need the formulating of the policy to support this kind of infrastructure development. And the other challenge is we need the long-term commitment from every unit of the government of the Thailand that we will go to the nuclear. We will use the SMR as a energy source for us. So the other one is we have to involve to a lot of stakeholders. We need the acceptance from all of our stakeholders to the project. And the other challenge is this kind of technology is quite new for our country. So we need like a legal and regulatory framework to make it clear that we can comply with this kind of the regulate of the law. So in the next challenge is, as I mentioned, that this kind of project, they need a lot of front end upfront investment cost, because the investment cost of this project is quite high compared with the other project. So we need to develop the support mechanism to have the fund. So the next one is we that I said SMR technology is let's say technology is quite high. So we need to develop our human resource. Like we need to prepare this kind of the academic and vocational program to develop our people to understand this kind of technology. We have a lot of challenge, so we think that we can cover all this challenge. So we believe that we can make the project success.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much ค่ะคุณสิริวัฒน์นะคะ As EGAT are the main system provider for energy in Thailand, we just heard that we about to like setting up the new source of energy, which is SMR, which is quite new to our country. So it's might take a lot of time to be like on progress, but right now at least we are in the stage of beginning, and we hopefully, if all the things go through or the phase that you just mentioned before, we might have the SMR power plant on 2037, right? Okay, so moving to the Kun Joshua, as you just like mentioned before that it's very economically viable for all of us to go greener, right? But from your global perspective, what is the structural challenges for all the country that trying to rapidly evolving their energy transition? What is the major structural challenge that most of them have seen? And in your view, what is the Thailand key challenges? And where do you see the most promising opportunity for the country? So I ask you both challenge and opportunity in the same time. Yeah.
Seems like a very big question to answer, right? So I'll probably kind of want to touch on that one point here that you made earlier, to say that it's economically viable to decarbonize. I think we need to take that with a bit of nuance, right? And I think We've seen in a previous chart shown by Marco that there are technologies today which can be economically deployed, and there are technologies which are more expensive that require support as well. Whether it's CCS, hydrogen, SMR, the cost is still coming out, still quite high at this point in time. So at the end of the day, we have to attack it from two fronts, right? First is we need to figure out for those projects that are not competitive yet and cannot stand on their 2 feet, right? Because they do not have scale, we're still going through this learning curve. How does, I would say, the government provide support to at least get these technologies moving, right? So we've seen in the UK, for example, they've funded CCS projects from a capex perspective. In Japan, from a hydrogen perspective, they have offered contract for difference, effectively the price of a green product, green ammonia versus the price of gray ammonia. The government helps to cover the difference of the cost to get some of these projects going so that we learn. The human capital comes into play, we learn, and as time goes by, it becomes cheaper. On the other end, we have projects which, or technologies today which are already competitive, right? We talk about renewables quite a bit, or renewables plus battery storage quite a bit as well. And the fundamental challenge we have there is really how do we scale this as fast as possible? And I have here a chart shown to everyone around about the cost that's required for us to achieve the different climate outcomes that we have. And in our base case is a 2.6 degree scenario, so it's not a net zero degree scenario, and it's $137 trillion required to be spent globally from today until 2060. That's $4 trillion a year, and today we are spending about $3 trillion a year, of which 2/3 goes into green energy. So yes, there is progress, but there's not enough. So when we move into net zero, that increases to $175 trillion, and that's $5 trillion a year, right? So massive requirements to invest. Now the question here, and as highlighted earlier by the speaker from PTT as well, is that, so much money cannot be funded by one party. It can't be funded by the governments alone. It can't be, and you really need to bring private capital to come in with it as well. And the only way private capital would invest is when there is some sort of economic return. It doesn't have to be crazy amounts like what you see with NVIDIA today and whatnot, right? But it needs to be meeting the minimum hurdle rate and the cost of capital, which in the energy industry perspective, you look at utilities return of 8 to 12% or 15% or whatnot, somewhere around there. And I think the job here is really to figure out what that looks like, right? And I think when I say the job, it is the job of the regulators, the governments, and the private sector working together to figure out how do we maximize each part of this value chain to make sure that we incrementally find gains to get to that return, right? And I think that's something that we find, that's the biggest challenge, bringing capital in. Now, diving into the topic on renewables, I would have to say, that's the lowest hanging fruit we have, right? The biggest problem, of course, is renewables deployment. We want to scale renewables as fast as possible, right? Question is, if it's already economical, why are not more people investing in it? And this comes back to the market structure that was highlighted earlier, right? We need to be able to deploy this capital really fast. Permitting is a challenge. Market structure is a challenge in terms of what pricing can you get. And the more regulations you have involved, the more time you need to get that across the ground. This is not a Thailand problem. This is not a ASEAN problem. This is a global problem. Same thing in the US as well. They have a significant demand for power. They have 100 gigawatts of capacity or data center capacity looking to tie in. And they do not know how to get their permitting done on time. Right? So I think that's one part of it. And I think coming back to Thailand, it is really encouraging that Thailand is moving towards a more liberalized power market. That allows private sector to come in, to get involved, to deploy capital, right? We are talking about from a generation perspective, direct to end user. And different countries are moving in different directions, different countries are moving at different pace, but by and large, they're all moving towards the direction of having a more liberalized power market so that people can invest. Now, it's great that we have the regulations in, the TPA Code 2025 comes out, but one thing is really important, and I'll end with that, right? Policy sets the intent, regulations sets the playing ground, the implementation of the regulations is key in how we can accelerate this. And I'll give you an example here. If I'm a renewables developer and with a TPA code in place, I need to know the rules of how we can get into the grid and that we will be provided access from an equitable, transparent manner. And I think that's something in which will take time to prove to the private sector that, the system works and that a lot more capital will come in. So I think the 2026 will be a defining year, and I think that we'll be really excited to see what happens after that as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting information that you provide with us. I think you just mentioned that the main challenges for every country right now for do the energy transition is capital, right? And the capital that is huge, like you all just mentioned before, it need to be like collaborate from all the stakeholder in that country to help and make it happen. So I think it's really a good background for us to be concerned with this. If we have to go greener with all of this, we have to make it happen. Thank you very much for your insightful information today. Please give a big round of applause to our distinguished speaker here. ขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆให้กับ speakers ด้วยค่ะ ขอบพระคุณมากค่ะ And for this, I wish you to on the stage for the photo session first. The group photo session on in front of the stage. Yeah, we just get all the great information from the session balance of future energy. As you just listen to all the distinguished speakers, I think we have to focus on the systematic transition to a cleaner, secure energy landscape by managing trade-off between the decarbonization and also economic stability. National leaders like PTT and EGAT are driving this vision through grid modernization, CCS, and advanced technologies such as green hydrogen and also SMR that Kun Siriwatt just mentioned before. Success hinge on navigating market liberalization and regulatory framework to capture all the multi-trillion-dollar opportunity of the green economy. Just as Mr. Joshua just mentioned, is really worth for us to know on this. Thank you very much once again for all the speakers. Last but not least, I think we have passed to the last session today. Let's turn to what makes the action scale in the final session, the booster. System and incentive to scale action. I think this one is really important. We're gonna take you to explore how the right systems and incentives can turn the sustainability goals into real nationwide impact as well. As all the speakers in the past two sessions just mentioned before, all we need is not just like a beautiful and clean strategy. All we need is a real good implementation. And to implement all this happen, we need to have some booster plan on that. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm round of applause to welcome our speakers to the last session of today. First, คุณนกร ตักกะวีรพัฒน์ Director of Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization or TGO. Second, Ms. Ivy Lau, Head of Sustainable Finance, Asia Pacific, Mizuho Bank, Mizuho Security Asia Limited. Third, คุณชนานันท์ สุภาดุล Director Financial Institution Strategy Department, Bank of Thailand. And last but not least, Mr. David Labney, Global Energy Transition and Sustainability for Energy of Accenture. Sawadika. Good afternoon to all of you. Let's start with the first questions that we have to understand more, how to boost up our role of decarbonization. I would love to throw the first question to TGO first. As the lead agency for carbon markets, how does TGO ensure trust in the carbon credit ecosystem and how are these mechanisms evolving to meet the international standards?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to the PDT groups to invitation me to join in this conference and give a chance for the TGO to view on the carbon market view and roles of the TGOs. As you may know that at the present, the mechanism of the carbon credit, we can divide into three parts or something like, first for the international credit mechanism, like Article 6 mechanism or something. For the second, we are national or sub-national credit for mechanism like for the Thailand, like premium tier or something. And the last thing is international credit mechanism like world gold standard. It was if we can split inform the mechanism in the three parts like that. Another for the marketing size, we can divide them in the four box. We are called for the voluntary box. Is it on? No. Sorry. Okay. We are called actually for the marketing. We split in the four box. We are for the voluntary box, for domestic box and international box. And in this, for the voluntary, you can use the carbon credit to be the offset and for your goal to be in the voluntary market. But for the domestic emission compliance, like they expect by under the climate action acts like ETS or something that is for the mandatory mechanism. And the last thing is international compliance carbon market. They was followed by international framework like NDC Article 6 to approach toward the NDC buyer and maybe some like CORSIA to the aviation eligible or something. It was all the frame or the common frame for the market and for the common mechanism for the carbon credit in the Thailand at this moment. Let's, if we just move to show about the carbon market ecosystem for the Thailand, we can say that we can show split in the three box or same like for the demand side and the supply side. For the supply side, we are already have to overall to supply carbon credit for in too many projects, and we the growth up of the demand side from the cooperative and company. They will grow up to absorb in the carbon offset in the carbon footprints, and that was the other thing to boost up in ecosystem. From this, it was for the NDC for the goal of the government. Like we already do some NDC action plan 342 to have the plan to reduction 47 of the carbon credit from BAU by 2035, and also have to be setting the net zero goal in 2050. That was an ecosystem, the major ecosystem for the carbon credit at this moment. But anyway, from the driving, we also doing some technical like policy and regulator driving in this like EU CBAM or Climate Action Act that we already said. Index that already put in the carbon tax, ETS, or maybe some taxonomy systems that I think the other ones for speaker, they will give you some more detail. And for the incentive that we already have some value added from the carbon pricing and tax incentive, and also have the BOI come to support in this. I think it was an overview for the carbon market in this at this moment.
Okay, thank you very much for background us or the carbon credit market in Thailand right now. It seems like we quite ready for that as well, right? So next question, I would love to ask Ms. Ivy from Mizuho, about like how Mizuho Bank integrate all the transition risk assessment into the core management strategy and how it can capture the opportunity in green finance.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having Mizuho in this wonderful event. So Mizuho, we are a Japanese bank and we are a global, systematically important bank. So we are very committed to support the economic development in Asia. And in Thailand, we have a huge exposure here. So overall, we understand that now in APAC, we are experiencing a very, fast changes and a lot of, new ideas when it comes to climate transition emerge, over the last couple of years. So I think very important thing is for banks like Mizuho, including, that for us to have a clear assessment of the transition-related risk first. So years ago, we have integrated an internal mechanism, trying to look at companies in what we call hard-to-abate sector, basically those carbon incentives, intensive sectors. So we look at, first of all, where our clients, which sector our clients belong to. So of course, for clients, in those carbon intensive sectors, we will also assess their risk from how, proactively they are responding to climate change. In other words, we are not like just stopping our, financing support to them just because you are coming from, utility sector or from oil and gas sector, then we are not lending to you. No, we take it like a more case-by-case basis. So after we measure, the progress of our clients, on their climate transition journey, we are starting to engage more actively with clients who are, relatively more ready for transition, and we are trying to understand how we can support them. Like, because when it comes to transition finance, of course, like, I'm coming from sustainable finance, we talk a lot about labor finance. But apart from labor finance, what we are also, eyeing on would be how we can really finance your transition. So broader than labor transition, labor, finance. So, and then we realize that actually there are many aspects that we can support on, like carbon credit. I think that's very relevant. And also, I think we talk about climate transition. In order to accelerate, we need, cutting edge technology. So we also leverage on our competitive edge. We have a lot of clients in Japan, in our domestic market, that they are actually the very leading technological solutions provider. So we try to, connect, solutions with the solutions, the users of those solutions. And, by connecting, both ends, we are also trying to, provide them with funding support. So that's our rationale. So in our last couple of years, we've actually seen that our clients in Asia, so from the very beginning that they are still, struggling, with visualizing their GHG emission till last year, we see there is a substantial improvement in their disclosure. So actually right now, I would say over, half of our clients, in those hard-to-abate sectors, in particular energy sector, they have not just set their targets, but they are starting to show some improvement in their carbon reduction. So these are the clients that we would love to, work more closely with. So to answer your question, this is how we try to strike a balance between risk and opportunities.
Oh, I see. That's really a great picture for us, that we can see that actually we just talked in the last session, right? That the main challenges is the finance or capital. I think right now you just give us some good example that actually bank is already been there to support. Also, next one, I would love to ask the Bank of Thailand, Kun Chananan, how about the role of the financial sector play in supporting this kind of things that gonna happen in Thailand? I would love to ask you, what is the concrete action has the Bank of Thailand already taken to facilitate this kind of the go greener activities?
Okay. Thank you very much, Kun Tina, and thank you, PTT, for inviting the Bank of Thailand to join this event. From the view of the regulators, the Bank of Thailand is a banking regulator. So actually the first thing we want to see is the stability of the financial institutions. But also as well, we want the financial institution to support the business transition to more sustainability as well. So what we like to see, there are two things. First thing is that we would like to see the financial institution integrate the aspect of environmental and climate into their operations. And the second thing is that we want the financial institution to provide enough funding for business transition. In order to achieve these two goals or what we wish to see, we have been doing 3 initiatives in this past 4 or 5 years, ranging from the supervisory expectation, Thailand taxonomy, and the last one is the financing the transition projects. To give you more flavor of each one, because maybe it's kind of like regulators' word choice. The first one is actually is the expectation that the Bank of Thailand has set with the financial institutions that how do we want them to integrate the environmental aspect into their operations, starting from the governance, the strategy setting, risk management, and also disclosure. After we have been doing a lot of exercise of the stress test and also a lot of communication with the other banks, we found that right now the banks in Thailand are quite on the good track to support the business transition. As we can see that some banks have set more and more challenging sustainability loan or green loan each year, more and more challenging. And they integrate a lot of environmental and climate aspect into their risk management and also in their disclosure as well. And at some banks, they even set up a dedicated executive to look after the sustainability issues. So it's quite a good sign from the Bank of Thailand views that bank is quite ready to help their customer to transform or to do the transition. Another part is Thailand taxonomy. Maybe can I ask in this room how many people quite have heard about taxonomy before? Okay.
Raise your hand.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
This is the max number.
Okay.
Around 10. Thank you so much. Some people may think that taxonomy is something about revenue department, but actually it is not. Taxonomy is just a name that starts with tax, but it's actually a national classification system that helps classify the economic activities by its environmental impact. So we just finished our Thailand taxonomy last year, which is quite a very good news. And because we have been doing it since 2022, together with other regulators and other relevant agencies, it's require a lot of hard work, and finally we have done it successfully. It's covered the 6 high emission sectors, ranging from energy, transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, building and real estate, and waste management. And we use the traffic light system going by green is the environmental friendly activities. As you know, amber is in the transition to green, so it's been in transition to be more friendly in the future. And the red one is unfriendly to the environment. You may have questions like, why do we need a taxonomy, or what is the benefit of taxonomy? From the business side, taxonomy will help you assess your current activities, whether your activities is friendly or not friendly to the environment, and then also can guide you how to adapt yourself or change yourself to be more green or to be more friendly to the environment. For financial institutions as well, they can use the taxonomy to assess the risk more correctly and also to provide the better financial solution according to the taxonomy, which I think, Mizuho is one of the leading in this area. And also, taxonomy itself, if there is widely adopted, then it will increase the transparency across the market and will align Thailand with the global sustainable finance standards and reduce the greenwashing issue as well. Okay. Oh, I ran out of time.
It's
Can
okay,
I still
ค่ะ
go
you
on?
can,
with
you can go on you can still go on ค่ะ
Okay, thank you. For the last one is the financing the transition project. This one is launched in August 2024. This is the initiatives that the Bank of Thailand working together with 8 commercial banks voluntarily trying to design and offer the financing products that is suitable for Thailand context. You may ask what is Thailand context. Okay, first of all, Thailand still rely a lot on the not clean energy like the fossil fuel, which according to the taxonomy we call it like red one, or sometimes we call it brown. Maybe for the sake of like more politeness, I don't understand as well.
brown
And the other fact is that our economy relies on many SME, and SMEs are maybe they are not as ready as a big corporate to do the transition. So under these initiatives, we work with the bank to make a product that differ from the general green loan that is already available in the market. The uniqueness of the product under this project, there are 3 aspects. The first one is that the product will help the business to move from brown to less brown in order to finally green at the end, but maybe a small step is better than a large one that maybe the SME will not be able to achieve. The second one is that it should be designed the terms and conditions to be suitable for the SME, means less stringent conditions. And the last one, it should be scalable. I mean, the product is quite standardized so that if one SME can make a change, then another one get inspiration and then can follow suit. So under this project, the target was set together with the 8 banks at 100 billion Thai baht at the end of last year.
Wow.
And it's a good news that the target has already reached. Right now, the outstanding under this project is at 120 billion Thai baht. However, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more stuff that we need to do. So right now, we are planning to expand this project to the next step. Yeah. Maybe I stop here first.
Okay, thank you very much ค่ะคุณชนานันท์ At least you just like give us a hope that financial institution here is ready to be the booster for all the Thai company to go greener. Yes, as Miss Ivy just mentioned before, apart from the capital, the financial that, or the banks, also the bank regulators, as BOT just mentioned, that ready to support all the Thai company. I have to ask Mr. David about the technology as well, because I believe that technology gonna be one of the an accelerator to this ecosystem. So could you please share with us how can the digital transformation help or the businesses bridge the gap between setting a sustainability target and actually achieving it?
Fantastic. Now, thank you to PTT, but maybe I'll also say thank you to the audience because you're the guys who've stuck with this for the whole day, and really appreciate this because you're going to get to hear the most interesting session.
Wow.
I think because we've got banks, we've got the regulator, we've got myself representing Accenture, where I lead our strategy practice worldwide. It's a pleasure to join you. I think your question is super interesting because what you're asking is, okay, decarbonization has sort of worked, but has it scaled? And what's really changing that's going to lead to a breakthrough that we can all do something about? And so I kind of thought about this for a second and realized that there's a lot of good news out there. We've heard a lot of good news today from many of these sessions. But often the panels have come back and they've said there's really 3 things we're trying to do with our energy system. Trying to make it sustainable, we need to make it affordable, and we also have security on our minds. And I don't think we've really ever had a time when energies managed to do all 3 of these at once. It's hard. It's hard. We emphasized sustainability a lot. 2020, 21, 22. Geopolitics changed. We emphasized security a lot. In the backdrop, affordability got out of control for some countries. But when you step back, is there something now that can be done using technology, using AI to make a difference? And I'm an optimist. We heard from the speaker this morning that the UK managed to reduce its emissions by around 50%. I'm currently based in Houston in the US, and the number there is around 40%, largely from taking coal out of electricity generation. But when I think about this industry, PTT's industry, oil and gas, the really impressive statistic is reducing the intensity of production. So still making the same amount of oil and gas, but actually making it for 20-25% less emissions. And I think that's a great step. But perhaps more can be done, because when I talk to players in the industry and others I meet, we sort of feel that decarbonization's a little bit fragile. It's tough. It's not so secure. There's this same, you asked me the same question, which is what more can be done? Can we scale? So there's still some uncertainty. And I really wanted to think about what's driving that. And I think what it is that we have big targets, we have national commitments, but when it really comes down to it, it's little small assets that need to work day in, day out. And they don't work once a year. No, these things are working 24/7, right? And at the moment, we're trying to make decisions around how do we manage this system? How do we decarbonize? When it's also not the only objective. We're also trying to make profit, trying to make returns. We're trying to have safe, reliable operations. So there's an awful lot of complexity that gets in the way of decarbonization. So thinking around this for a second, I was wondering what's going to change with technology? What might change with AI? And often companies, PTT, other leaders in the sector have focused a lot on what is my emissions? What is my report? Can I measure what's happening? Can I report it? And maybe I could even generate some sort of carbon credit or offset based on doing that. Now, with the advances in technology, what's actually happening is we're going to be in a position to really understand how that equipment is working minute by minute, second by second. AI and agentic AI is creating what I call a closed loop. So you can have the machine talking to the machine. And the critical thing here is that once you've sensed an event, once you've sensed an emission, it's not just about writing it down on a piece of paper. It's about taking an action, right? And taking action is tough because there's a lot of things happening. You're doing your maintenance, you're doing your investment, you're meeting your customer requirements. So you have to break into that system. And so what's really cool about what AI is doing and what technology is doing is giving us that visibility into where emissions are really happening and allowing us to take action. I think we can now start to see that across the improvements in methane. I think we're seeing that inside the refineries. I actually think we're even seeing it inside data centers, where we're taking minute by minute decisions around how to power those assets. So this is really a question of how can we provide that control for decarbonization to happen. And I think with technology, with AI, we now have a new tool in our arsenal, and we're going to be able to see a different outcome.
Wow, that's very interesting. I think it's like you make us visible, make all the things in the air more visible, right? And I think it's like the good background and the good fundamental for our business to start with all this kind of the technology to make us be able to quantify all the things that it needs to be done. Yeah. Okay. And next, we would love to ask about the opportunity that's going to happen from now. We would love to come back to TGO. As you are the lead agency for the carbon market, I would love to ask you how to turn the decarbonization into the business opportunity by using all the carbon credit ecosystem that happen right now.
But actually, I heard from the speaker on the stage, and very happy that, and you see that we are quite ready in various functions, like for the finance, for the AI, and for the regulation support from the Bank of the Thailand. And I want to say that in TGOD also have the very good partner, like some of the people in every ecosystem that I said before. And at this moment, I think the Thailand and our partner, we are try to support. We have a payload to support in the Thailand to drive in the Thailand sustainable and for the low carbon growth through the international carbon market. And in one of the part of the thing. But the strategy that we already do that from followed by the Article 6 rule and guidance to do that. We have to have the guideline to do that to have to develop the cooperative among and bilateral. In Thailand, we already have some bilateral with Switzerland, and we already done the first ITMO in the Article 6. We have the bilateral with the Japanese. We have to do joint committee like the JCM. And we already also have the first ITMO to the JCM. We just from the last year. And the last thing, we already have the MOU with the Singapore, follow the Article 6. And for the next guideline on the Article 6, to have to improve the national credit standard. Like I said, in Thailand, we already have the premium tier to be the national standard. We are the one of the 33 countries that already develop and they already have their own standard for the nations. And we have to ensure the infrastructure and legislation to make that transparent and integrable for the carbon credit. For you, we have to turn to the verify to the how to say that. I want to say that for the carbon credit in Thailand, all of them, they have to direct to be have to some validation and verification body from the third party before you agree to the credit. We follow by the body accreditation on the ISO 14065. That it means the carbon credit of our country or national economy is on the standard of the world because we also follow the same situation for the ISOs. Then for the other thing for the in an angle of transparencies for the carbon credit legislatory system, the TGO we have the plan to do some launch some we are connecting with the Climate Action Data Trust or we are CAT Trust of the World Bank. The Climate Data Trust, they arouse or they show about the data or how to use and who is used to avoid the double counting of the carbon credit, and they will build up for the crediting and more trust for the carbon credit to be the carbon credit in the Thailand. And at this moment, we also support to the premium tier to be the high standard, carbon credit. We already have the project to do some dual certification with the international standard like gold standard. It can be shown that the standard or carbon credit of the Thailand can be to be the standard of the international standard. And someone already know that Corsia or they already accept to eligible the carbon credit of the Thailand to be can absorb in ICAO for use in aviation issue. And the text we also very concentrate in the high or high standard. All of it is, I think it was to show that in Thailand is quite ready to not just only the cooperative in everything, and we have to be very strong body and legislatory that was that's why the Thailand can be to be the international in the market.
Wow. Okay. So as Kunakon just mentioned that actually all the agencies in Thailand are ready to be a platform for all the Thai business, right? To be incorporative in the carbon credit system, because all of the standard we are very internationalized right now. So it's kind of all the platform that ready for all the business to leverage on this and to go further, to go greener with all kind of the ecosystem that just ready for use. Okay. Yes, and next I would love to ask Ms. Ivy once again, if we talk about the blended finance, what role does the blended finance play in de-risking the climate project, and can it truly lower the capital cost enough to accelerate the global transition?
Thank you. So I think this is a million-dollar question, like how to really lower the funding cost. So we have come across this kind of question from our clients from like really frequently. So I think in order for us to address, this question, I think first of all, I think in Thailand or even like broader across Asia, I think thanks to regulators like Bank of Thailand setting out, definitions. So I think there is no lack of clients that are willing, to align with, regulatory requirements in defining the green or transition eligibility. But I think, of course, from clients' perspective, it's always, looking for ways where they can reduce the cost of funding. From a bank's perspective, we assess risk from a multidimensional perspective, including market risk, credit risk, that kind of things. We love innovation, to put it this way. Like we love to hear, like David just mentioned, integrating, AI on measurement, validation, or even in some projects, I think the application opportunity of, AI are there. But how we try to strike a balance between innovation and proven track record. So for banks, we clearly need to have more certainty around revenue stream, for new projects. So, but, in order for us to really de-risk, this kind of new project innovation, let's say, for example, green hydrogen, right? We understand how to define like a hydrogen project as green, but in order for us to, get more certainty around credit, and also I think what is more important is, for any new projects where, the proven track record of the revenue streams are not there, we need a blended finance model, which is, strategically combining public and private, capital together. And also, let's not forget that with this like private partners, private, and public partnership, there is also the role for philanthropic, money to come in. So we need to, really combine, first of all, the concessional funding from public, entities, for example, and also from MDBs, DFIs. So they come in and provide what we call a first loss capital in order, to kind of provide some assurance on, the principle of private investor can be protected. And then secondly, it is also important to see some sort of guarantees in play. Like whether it's a credit guarantee or political risk guarantee, we need to see this kind of guarantee in order to get the risk premium, lowering a bit. And then after, this kind of, funding mechanism in place, then, gradually the private investor, they will see, more room for them to, really play a part in this entire blended finance model. And then when we talk about blended finance, there's also a very important aspect, which is the technical assistance. Sometimes, we need maybe like some philanthropic, funding to support some sort of technical assistance grant, in order to really build a more like a quality sort of fundamental for those projects. In particular, when we talk about like legal frameworks, like we need this kind of technical assistance, to assist, the project developers, to really to solve, some legal issues like legal challenges. And I think now we've talked about like multiple stakeholders, right? So that's why there's challenges, right? We talk about blended finance is a hope, definitely, like a going forward for us to facilitate, or mobilizing more capital into, climate projects. But let's not forget that there are still like, challenges that we have to overcome. In particular, right now we are seeing like there are still limited, public or philanthropic, funding, pouring, into resources, into those climate transition projects. So we need to work closer together. So I think in the previous panel discussion, I think we heard the panelists repeatedly emphasize one thing, which is collaboration. We need a very, well sort of orchestration of this blended finance model, pulling in multiple stakeholders to work together, because the essence of blended finance is always about how you're going to blend, things. The blending, the art of blending is the key question for us to address.
I see. So on the ground, when risk is reducing, you can lower the cost of financing, right? So everything back to basic.
Yes.
And that is the importance of collaboration to make all the risks reduce.
Only if, every, players play their part, and then this, mechanism come into play in an effective manner, then there will be, possibility for us to lower the funding costs.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much on this. Moving on to Kun Chananan from BOT, how I would love to ask you about preparation for the Thai businesses. How should Thai businesses prepare themselves to effectively access the climate or sustainable finance so they can seize the opportunity and avoid falling behind in the transition toward the low carbon economy?
Thank you for the question. Drawing from our experience, I would say there are 3 suggestions that to help business to better access the climate and sustainable financing. First of all is about data. Data collection is, I would say, very fundamental or the foundation of everything. To build a solid foundation of data, not only in your own business, but also please extend across the supply chain as well, so that you can capture all the scope 1, 2, and 3 of the GHG emission. By having this clear and verifiable data on your own emission and also your supply chain, your business will be in much stronger position to demonstrate the commitment and readiness for the transition. And this data-driven approach not only support the access to the funding, but also identify areas of risk and opportunities throughout your operation as well. From data as a beginning, then we move to taxonomy again. I still suggest that please understand and use the taxonomy, because this quite an important step, because if you can familiarize yourself with Thailand taxonomy, which actually I give the QR code here, if you want to see more in detail, please go ahead, but don't be panicked when you first see how complicated it is. We have to go through some complexity to see the benefit.
Yeah.
The beauty of the taxonomy. So the taxonomy will help you assess the environmental friendliness of your activities and whether you are green, amber, or red. And when you know yourself, then the taxonomy will guide you on what kind of technology advancement that available in the market, or what kind of standard international practice that can help you reduce the GHG emission. And also it also guide you on the timing of your plan. I mean the decarbonization pathway of your business as well, because the taxonomy is built on to be in line with the national goal and national plan. Yeah, as you have heard that our NDC is 15 years, how to say, faster, right? But Thailand taxonomy itself already built for the in line with the Paris Agreement, which is our new NDC. So you can rely on that. And the third suggestion is that after you got the data, you know the taxonomy, you know how to classify the environmental friendliness, then you should develop a transition plan. And it's very highly recommend that if you can align your transition plan with the taxonomy, this will ensure that your transition plan will in line with the national or the country picture or perspective as well. And this taxonomy aligned transition plan is a crucial information if you want to seek the sustainable finance, right? Because the bank and investor also want to ensure that their money goes to the sustainable activities, and the taxonomy alignment will ensure that your green and their green is the same, or amber, your amber and investor or the bank's amber is the same, and this will reduce the greenwashing dispute. I know that the journey to decarbonization is not easy at all for everyone, but it's doable, even though we have to put in a lot of efforts. From the Bank of Thailand, we want all the business to capture these opportunities of the green transition. So we would like the bank or the financial institution to be a great supporter of the business. So right now, we are opening up the sandbox for the commercial bank in Thailand to test run the green-related business, which is not allowed right now under current regulation. But we plan to amend the banking regulation to allow the commercial banks to do more on the green-related business. For example, to be a GSG calculator, verifier, to be a carbon credit broker dealers, and to give some green advisory. Because in order to transition, funding is important, but only funding is not enough.
Yeah.
Because we need a lot of awareness and the knowledge of technology and everything. So to conclude, there are three key issues that I would like to address today is the data collection, understand taxonomy, and develop a transition plan that align with taxonomy. And you are not alone, because within this year, the bank will be able to provide more tools to support you to the decarbonization beyond just the traditional funding.
Wow, thank you very much. Or in order to start a good preparation, scan this on the, QR code is just gone, but you can search on the Thailand taxonomy to prepare for your business, as Kun Chananan just mentioned before. Thank you very much for this good suggestion. Last but not least, David, I would love you to close the session with the questions that actually on the first session we just mentioned about that, because every company treat going greener is like a cost that we have to pay. But from your experience, what is your recommendation that all the business need to move beyond and treat all this thing as a strategic opportunity to improve efficiency and drive a long-term business growth instead of look at it as a cost or burden?
Okay, see, you give me a hard question, right? Everyone else gets an easy question about why this is all good news, and then I get this hard question, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
But I think you're onto something, and I was thinking a little bit, is it really a cost? And perhaps it's a little bit more like buying insurance, because you're protecting against the downside risk. You're asking yourself, how can I can I stretch out my value chain into the future? Can I maintain my right to operate? Can I manage against the regulation? So I think it's been, if I'm fair, I think it's been okay, right? People need insurance, and this model has delivered improvements, I think, in cost, in efficiency, and some of the value that probably needed to happen and would have happened anyway. Question is now, can we turn this around? Not just be defensive, but actually make a business from this. And that means you've actually stepped back and you ask, well, why isn't it a business today? Now, some things, fossil fuels are just kind of too good in today's technologies to be replaced. The other economics don't work. But there's a lot that can be done in decarbonization if businesses can see the value, if they can perceive it. Now, the value today is a bit fragmented. It shows up a little bit in maintenance, it shows up a bit in logistics, it shows up in compliance, it shows up a little bit with the customer. Businesses haven't been able to get their hands around that value and to be able to say, this is what this is worth. Now, as I mentioned AI, and you've asked me to talk a little bit about it, something about AI is that it just reduces the complexity of doing business. It's going to provide, if you have the right data, it can provide that visibility to take decisions across functions and across businesses. And so that excites me to say, I think we can do something different. I think we can see that value in one place, and as a result, we can move forward. So you said it was $1 million question. I think it's a multi-billion-dollar question. And so my kind of humble attempt is I think the $1 billion lie in these 5 areas, if you will, where we're going to see AI and technology make a real difference. And so the first one is here, carbon intelligent value chains. You don't just want to decarbonize a single asset. That's okay, but what you're really trying to do is decarbonize how you produce energy and how you deliver energy and how you use it. So that means decarbonizing your system. So the first thing is you've got to connect these value chains. You'll look at reliability and efficiency and carbon together. So number one is decarbonizing the full value chain. Will have a lot of value. The second, and we've heard a lot about CCUS today. The thing about CCUS is the infrastructure cost is so expensive. You need to be able to share it. You need to be able to look at it in terms of your portfolio. Second thing that technology is going to help us do is to drive up the utilization of that infrastructure, to share it, to get the economics down. So second, low carbon infrastructure. Bet on this. Third, I'll come back to methane platform. I think the single greatest thing the oil and gas industry has done to decarbonize is methane. It stood out as a really great improvement. It's commercially viable in many cases, and it is the most important gas to get rid of. We're now seeing improved capture technology. We're using satellites, we're using AI, and like I showed earlier, we're actually acting on that to make a difference. So solving methane, solving the platform, there's money in it because every molecule of gas you capture, you can sell. So really, really good to do that. The next one is new demand. New demand's happening all the time, and with decarbonization, we should be going after this. Data centers.
Wow. Just change the microphone, please. Thank you.
Data centers are asking for low carbon power. Not zero carbon, because they recognize it's pretty impossible to have that, but low carbon. Technology is going to provide that because you can optimize across the different sources. You've got gas, you've got renewables, maybe you're going to have geothermal, maybe there'll be some nuclear. You'll get that picture. And then finally, the value of the carbon molecule itself. Every time you're buying energy, you're actually buying energy and you're buying carbon together, but you're not pricing it differently. The Deputy Prime Minister today asked that question. He wanted to know how much was the carbon content of the gas that he's putting into his car. In the future, technology is going to allow us to tell that story and to create a market for it and create value. So the carbon molecule itself is going to have a monetary value. So I think I want to come back to that. I'm very optimistic that we have a future in front of us where we don't just need to treat decarbonization like a cost or like insurance. There's a lot of value out there to be had. You've got the financial institutions which are really helping lay out the frameworks for you to go after that. And with that, I thank my panelists, thank you, and thank you for a fantastic day here today.
Wow, it's really impressive closing remark here. Thank you very much, David, and also thank you very much all the speakers for sharing the practical insights and real-world perspective to boost all the Thai businesses and ASEAN businesses to go greener together for today. Please give a big round of applause to our distinguished speaker here. ขอบพระคุณมากๆค่ะ And please remain on the stage to take the group photo in front of the stage first. Thank you very much for very insightful information today. I believe that all the information that all the speakers just mentioned, the key highlight is the transition to the net zero future is being accelerated by robust carbon credit ecosystem and also the integration of sustainable finance framework from institutions that Mitsuho and the Bank of Thailand just mentioned by aligning all the regulatory standards and also like all the technology is like all the things about the going greener is gonna happen in Thailand for sure. Thank you very much. And at this time, I have to say that we come to the last point of the panel discussion today. The discussion has shown that the scaling sustainability is not only about the ambition, but about having the right system, incentive, and partnership in place to make action happen. At this time, could you please scan the QR code display on the screen and complete a brief survey from PTT Group. Your feedback will be greatly appreciated and will help guide us planning of the future event. Please scan the QR code if you have time. Take up the photo and scan later can be do as well. And again, as we come to the final moment of the Spark Sync stage, coalition to shape the future economy or discussion has clearly shown that the future economy will be shaped by collaboration, not by individual efforts alone. Across policy, systems, and real-world action, we have seen that how decarbonization can go hand in hand with the economic competitiveness and long-term resilience. Beyond this, the inspiration topic through this session that spark our vision, we would love to invite you to visit the exhibition area featuring PTT Group's key strategies and showcase on the journey toward the net zero and new sustainable business opportunity. You can also enjoy a range of interactive activities designed to engage, inspire, and bring sustainability concepts to life. And tomorrow morning, please join us at the SCBX Next Tech stage to support the next generation in the Spark Hack ESG Innovation Competition. Thank you everyone once again for staying with us until the very end. Thank you very much. ทีน่า สุภัทรกิจ เจต ทวีกิจ ลาทุกท่านไปก่อน ขอบคุณและสวัสดีค่ะ